Hallelujah. And today you need to teach Dharma because it's very auspicious. They have a level teaching. And it means that Buddha Shakyamuni teach Dharma to his mother. So it's very good. 2,929 years ago, yeah?
Yep.
So please teach Dharma. So it is very auspicious.
Thank you. My name's Nick. Some people call me Yogi. I designed this teaching basically as to give mothers something instead of just propagating fairy tales. They could actually tell their children something really good, the truth about reality. A lot of people think Buddhism, especially Tibetan Buddhism, it could seem like, oh, it's just about some mysterious truth. You know, they keep it hidden. It's just really, nobody really knows what it is. It's just like some mysterious thing out there, and that's what we need to pray to, or that's what the truth is. It's like unknowable, you know, really mysterious. But actually, Buddhism's the opposite of that. Buddhism says if something exists, they say it exists. If something doesn't exist, Buddhism says that doesn't exist. So like, what does Buddhism say doesn't exist? It's a lot of things, but we can start with 4 things. I does not exist. Nothingness, the idea of nihilism, doesn't exist. It's not true. External creator doesn't exist, and rabbit horns don't exist. So I'm not like picking on religions when I say external creator doesn't exist or things like that, or philosophies. I'm picking on all of us, actually, because we all hold these ideas. We all think I exist. We all believe in nihilism, and contradictingly, seemingly, we also believe in eternalism. We believe in an external creator. And we all have rabbit horns locked away in our closets, actually. So, first one, I. I is the idea of a single, independent, permanent entity. And that's who I think I am. And I think you guys are those too. So we all have this wrong view, this clinging. Example of that is anger. Every time I have anger, I cling tightly to the idea of that we're separate, that I'm a separate entity. So proof of that is I think that I could make you suffer, but that won't make me suffer. That implies I think we're separate. Otherwise I'd realize if I make you suffer, that's what anger is, wanting to make you suffer. If I realize we're connected, that doesn't make any sense, because that means it's going to make me suffer too. Anger also thinks that I'm the most important, which is another symptom of ego clinging. I'm the most important, to the point that I want to make you suffer, or actually, like, I'm going to make you suffer just to make me happy. That totally implies that I'm more important than others. So anger is ego clinging. We all have ego clinging. All of our negative thinkings actually support ego clinging. Jealousy is like the extreme of that anger. Extremely like, just to make me happy, I want others to suffer. And when others suffer, that's going to make me happy. Greed is like imputing egos all around. Greed is like, even money has an ego. Money is permanently the cause of happiness. That's what money is. So when we impute that label onto money and say, independent of other causes and conditions, that's what that is. It's the cause of happiness. That's like imputing egos all over onto all these objects. So money is just one example of that. And that would be greed. We think happiness is out there, is the cause of our happiness out there. Pride is thinking, oh, I'm so amazing. I got here all by myself, independently of others. I'm here all by myself. And so that's totally ego clinging right there. Just imputing that independence from everybody. And ignorance is the mother of all ego clinging. Ignorance is not knowing who you are. So that is ego clinging. Ego clinging is clinging to the idea that I'm something that I'm not. So ignorance is the root of that. So basically we all have negative thinking, so we all do have ego clinging. And we're all nihilists too. Whenever we think about this life only, whenever we don't think about the future, we don't think about that what I do now is going to have effects infallibly in the future, that's nihilism. When I don't realize that my thinking is creating the world, when I don't realize that my thinking infallibly is creating everything for me, that is nihilism. Nihilism says, oh, your thinking's meaningless. When you die, you know, some forms of nihilism just think you're a brain or something like that. So when you die, it's nothingness. So we all do that when we don't realize that our thinking creates our world. And we all believe in external creators, sadly. Every time we think that somebody else could cause my happiness, or that somebody else could cause my suffering, that's imputing an external creator of my happiness and of my suffering. So every time we don't take responsibility that we're creating our own universe, that's us believing in an external creator. So the cool thing is when you really look, all these concepts, I, external creator, and nothingness, they're totally illogical and they could never actually exist. Those objects could never be true. And so Buddhism says they don't exist, like rabbit horns. And so now let's talk about what Buddhism says does exist. Buddhism says that I exist, and you exist, and all other beings exist. But they're not talking about your body, and they're not talking about some mysterious thing like a soul. They're talking about your thinking. Specifically, single present thinking only. That's what exists. That's what we say is the truth, relative truth. So, I'm single present thinking only, you're single present thinking only, everybody is, and that's what exists. To take it further, the past doesn't exist, it's already gone. The future is not here, it doesn't exist. So you get down to the single present moment. The present moment is what exists. And so we call that mind only, or thinking only. That's like our philosophy of relatively what exists. And so I'm going to teach a little bit more and how to develop this, and I'm going to connect it to how this is related to the topic of our teaching, which is about mothers. So, but back to thinking about that present moment, is that the past is gone, my past thought is gone, but the power of that remains here in the present moment. And so it's like, the past is gone, but its imprint, or its energy, is here now. And that's what we call karma. And that process of moving from the past to the present to the future, yet always being the present moment, that's called reincarnation. And the same way that we're doing that from moment to moment, we've been doing that from lifetime to lifetime. It's the same process. So those are both reincarnation. So we'll get real technical here. So that's one aspect of thinking, is that karma that reincarnates. Another aspect of thinking in the present moment is a choice. I cling to something. I make a choice every single moment. And that's the other aspect of thinking. And so thinking is compounded of many different aspects. And it's compounded of I'm the cause and others are the condition. And so when I make a choice every moment, that's the cause of my reality. But the energy of my past thinkings is going to ripen in that moment according to my present moment choice, and also according to the conditions of all beings thinking. So you see this, we're totally interconnected, and my thinking and my karma are creating my universe in that way. So that's really cool. My thinking's not only creating my inner feelings and my perceptions, it's actually creating all of my outer phenomena too. Form, sounds, colors, everything is a creation of my thinking. So that's, again, we're talking about what Buddhism says exists. That's what we say exists. That's what's real. Everything, appearances exist, but it's mind only. It is your thinking. It's not, basically ideas like external creator and like, well, what's real, what's making this? We have to just logically investigate and realize that those aren't true. What's true is that it's your thinking only. This process of reincarnating from moment to moment, it's been happening since beginningless time. It's beginningless and endless. And for us it's uncontrollable because we don't know what's real. We're clinging to those rabbit horns as being real, so we're just totally lost. And there's countless beings stuck in this same process. And really it's a constant roller coaster ride of happiness and suffering, because we don't realize that everything's a creation of our mind. So we don't know how to train our mind. We don't know how to think the right way. We don't know how to think that I am present moment thinking. We're stuck thinking I am other things. a soul or this or that. And so we're on this constant roller coaster ride, but there's countless of us doing that. And like I said, we've been doing this for countless moments, reincarnating, in countless lifetimes. And so, if we look at that, we've all been in relationships with each other in countless different ways, every single relationship, to the point where I've been your enemy and your best friend and your mother and your daughter, and I've been your dog, I've been a little mosquito you're looking at, and vice versa countless times. Every situation countless times. So we need to start looking at that. That's real. That's like, according to our relative truth, that's real. And so one aspect, you have been your enemy countless times, but because of my ego clinging, I don't have any problem like clinging to that view. It's like pretty easy for me to think of you as my enemy. So I could say, oh, countless lifetimes you've been my enemy. But no, we're trying to break through that. So we need to look at the other aspect. You've been my mother countless times. So that's where the term mother sentient beings comes from. So if you realize you're in this process and you want to start to break out of it, instead of clinging to rabbit horns, start clinging to what's real. That there's countless mother sentient beings suffering. And so basically you start with your own mother in this life. And we don't want her to suffer. So we're going to do anything we could do to make her not suffer. And the only way we could do that is by helping her increase her positive thinking. So you start with your own mother, but that expands to all beings because you recognize all beings are my mother. If I only think about my mother in this life, that's another example of nihilism again. So we're going to break through that and look at what actually exists. So basically, when you look at these things, you got to make a strong decision. Really decide, okay, my positive thinking is the cause of my happiness and the condition of all my mother sentient beings' happiness. Others' positive thinking is important too. It's the condition of my happiness. And even though this is what's true, it's actually an illusion too. It's all just ego clinging's creation of suffering. So we call samsara. And there's countless beings who have realized that ego never existed. And they're always helping us to make the same realization, blessing us. They're 100% positive thinking, vast awakening. They've realized their true nature, which is true happiness. And so when we decide those three things exist, my positive thinking, others' positive thinking, and Buddha's, that's called, and we really commit to that, and we practice and we live out of that intention, that's called taking refuge. And basically when you take refuge, like Buddhists recognize everybody's Buddhist, because really your nature is Buddha underneath that ego clinging. But when you take refuge and really decide and make that commitment, that you're a practicing Buddhist, we call that. And so, it's not some mystery. It's not some magical game we're playing, it's reality. That's what Buddhism is. And so we have to make the decision that everything I believe really creates my universe. Whether I'm discussing what exists and what doesn't exist, or whether the glass is half full or emptiness. Thank you.